Being that you were a high school player, what school did you play for? What high school did you play for? And where did you see yourself as a player in high school?
I played at John Jay Cross River. It's a public school near me. I live in Waukesha. It's in Cross River, New York. And I started off my high school career as a second baseman. I was about 5'6", and I pitched a little bit my freshman year, so I got called up to varsity to pitch. And from that year on, I kind of dropped pitching a little bit and started to focus on playing shortstop, third base. I got bigger and stronger. And then about junior, senior year, pitching started to come back on the radar and started to grab some attention pitching. And toward the end of my high school career, I definitely thought that I was going to pursue the route of pitching, but I've been lucky at the college level to go the two-way route. So I get to continue developing on both sides and see what works out the best.
Yeah, it listed on your website that you were actually both an infielder and a pitcher. You didn't pitch yet this season, obviously, because of the shortened season, but do you expect to pitch next season? If so, how often, and what kind of role do you think it'll be? Is it a starter, a reliever, a specific type of pitcher? What do you think will end up happening with you pitching?
I definitely think I'm going to get some time next year. I've been working hard, working on my craft, working on my delivery, and I feel like I'm ready to eat some innings next year and help the guys win some games. But I've pitched both in a relief role for a lot of high school. First couple of years, I was a closer. So I'm really comfortable in a relief role. Started later on in high school, got comfortable with that. So either way, I'd just be very grateful to get innings and very, very happy to help the team win games.
Was baseball the only sport that you played in high school?
It was. I played a little basketball in middle school, but I knew from a very young age that baseball is what I wanted to pursue. And when I got to high school, I decided that I wanted to spend all my time working on it.
Who are some of your influences growing up, both for your position as a pitcher and as an infielder, or even just, again, a player that you really looked up to growing up?
My greatest influence growing up was definitely Derek Jeter. When I went to my first game, I was young, and I come from a biracial family, so I actually saw his parents at the game, and it caught my attention. And I kind of was attracted to him from there and I always thought he was a great player and always followed the way he carried himself, and he was always my favorite player and my role model. And aside from my parents, that was the person that I looked up to the most, for sure.
I was a big Yankee fan. I wasn't a Derek Jeter fan. Matter of fact, growing up, I was a Don Mattingly fan. And when Derek Jeter took over after Mattingly retired, it really bothered me. And Mattingly never had an opportunity to win a championship. He retired the year before they won a championship. Maybe Mattingly was jinxed. How old are you, Joe?
19.
You're 19. So you really never really had the opportunity to see Don Mattingly play. So growing up, to me, it was one of the greatest things I had the opportunity to do was go and watch my favorite player play. When you have the opportunity to go and watch some of these professional baseball players play now in the game, who's the player that you really love to watch?
There's a lot of guys I love to watch, but right now it would have to be Mike Trout. As a Northeast guy, I've always looked up to him, and the way he's come up to success and he's continued to get better and better each year. He's the greatest player of this generation. There's nothing not to like. He's incredibly exciting.
You were talking about the hybrid players earlier, you being a pitcher and a reliever. We've seen some of that now with MLB versatility, minor league versatility, a guy like Hunter Green in the Reds farm system. Can you see that being the new wave of baseball at many different levels, considering a lot of versatility, guys playing 3 positions, 4 positions already happening in MLB?
I know it's extremely valuable at the college level. We have a bunch of guys on our team that play a lot of positions and a few guys who pitch and play the field. I think it's inevitable that versatile players continue to get into the MLB and more two-way players just because they offer so much value, and there's a lot of talented athletes coming up.
As a baseball player, as a college player, before you were, obviously decided to go to George Washington, what did the George Washington head coach do when he came and he scouted you? Did he sit down and talk to you and your family? Was that, and what sold you to go to George Washington?
It was actually very late in my recruiting process that George Washington popped up, but I met the then assistant coach, Coach Lorber, in Georgia at the Worldwide Wood Bat tournament held by Perfect Game. And it was the last game that I had there for the week. And I met Coach Lorber, and he was interested after the game. drove from Georgia to D.C. the next day, and my dad and I sat down with Coach Ritchie for about 6 hours. And he used to be the hitting coach for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he's been the hitting coach for Team USA for a few years now. And his knowledge of the game and his devotion to not only the team but to each of our individual development was exactly what I was looking for, and I felt comfortable there right away.
What are some of the differences? Obviously, a small sample size. What do you think are some of the differences between high school baseball and college baseball, either strategically, skill-wise, manager-wise, anything like that? What are some of the differences to you?
The game's definitely faster. Things happen faster. I got to be quicker in the infield. Guys get down the line. A lot of better athletes. But the biggest change, I'd say, is just the quality of the arms. High school was definitely a lot less velocity, and some of the breaking stuff I've seen this year was not very common in high school. So it's been a process adjusting, but I'm looking forward to the challenge of getting my numbers to where I want them to be.
Joe, how would the coaching staff describe their approach to coaching you?
I think they'd say that their approach to coaching me is helping me focus on the details of the process and exactly what I'm trying to work on every time I'm on the field, and just being a competitor. And our main thing is attitude and effort, and those two things and just dedication to the process will get you to where you want to go, and that's how we feel as a group.
Describe your debut at George Washington. You had 3 hits and 4 RBIs in that game. Just go through the emotions and the adrenaline of that game, what it felt like. Were you overconfident at first? Were you nervous? Were you confident just regularly? And then you end up having 4 RBIs. Go through those emotions.
It's funny, before the game, I hadn't felt any different all day. Traveled a lot for baseball before, so we got on a flight, got on a hotel. I felt pretty comfortable, but we got in the van on the way to the game, and I sent my parents a text because they couldn't be there, just thanking them for believing in me and always giving me the tools I wanted to chase my dreams. I almost started to tremble a little bit in the back of the van. I'm in the back corner because I'm a freshman, and nobody really notices. And then I get on the field and I feel good right away. I get my first hit and 2-run score in the first inning, and it was one of the most electric moments of my life. I actually forgot to take my elbow guard off right away, and first base coach started laughing at me, and he said, "Joe, your elbow guard's still on. We've all been there before, though. First of many, congratulations." So there were some special moments that night, and I hope to win a lot more games.
Do you have any goals after college? Obviously, a lot of baseball players say they want to get drafted, they want to play in the major leagues. There's so many divisions. There's the A Bowl, the AA, and there's AAA before you get into the major leagues. Everybody says in professional sports, the hardest sport to get into in the professional rankings, it's baseball. So where do you see yourself after college?
I absolutely see myself as a professional. My goal's always been to play at the highest level. And if I didn't believe that I could play at the highest level, I'd have no chance. So I'm always going to believe in that. And I think it's awesome that baseball has such a big system, because guys really devote a lot of time to their craft before they get to the major leagues. And it's made the quality of play in the league incredible.
Do you have a preference on which one, if you were to pursue that kind of career and enter the draft? Do you have a preference on which position, with the infield or the pitching position? And also, what is your favorite infield position to play?
My favorite infield position is definitely shortstop. I started at shortstop this year, but as far as the professional route, if that were to come around, I'd be extremely grateful to get the opportunity, regardless of the position. And I absolutely would not care. I just want to be in the arena, want to get to compete.
So you're telling me if the Boston Red Sox draft you and your first game in the major leagues is against the New York Yankees in Fenway Park, that wouldn't upset you?
Absolutely not. I'm going to be ready to face David Torres.
Oh, man. Come on. I know you're a Yankee fan. I'm trying to get you.
I'll always be a Yankee fan, but regardless of where I'd be playing, I just want to be out there. I would do anything to be out there.
In terms of the path to the major leagues, what do you think it will take in terms of your development, being a freshman? What are the biggest things you could grow in your own game? And also, what do you think will be some of the differences between college baseball and even just minor league baseball, which is still in the professional rankings?
I think one of the big separators for me that's been a separator as I've gotten older in high school, and I know it's going to be a separator for me in college, is that I have put a lot of just detail into my strength and conditioning work, just because in today's game, athletes are better than ever, and it's really important to be one of the best athletes on the field. So that's always a goal of mine. And then at the professional level, the development is there's so much technology and so much strategy that goes into the development now that you're lucky to find yourself with really great coaching and really great systems. So the biggest thing for me is strength and conditioning, and on my own and with my strength coach at school. And then as far as the baseball stuff, my coaches have really been huge in helping me with what I need to develop on.
Joe, this kid right beside me, he is a broadcaster, smart, intelligent, analytically great. But we have been arguing over the years, what is the most important, hardest position to play on the diamond? And this kid over here said it was center field. I've been arguing the point that it was shortstop. If you were to argue that point, which side would you take?
I definitely have a strong bias, but I'd have to go to shortstop. I feel like shortstop's the most demanding position on the field, and you got to be a great athlete to play it.
2-0 Errol.
No, he's an infielder. Of course he's biased.
2-0 Errol.
If I were to ask an outfielder, they'd say center field.
Oh, no, they wouldn't. They would tell you shortstop. You heard what Coach said yesterday? I mean, on Tuesday?
Yeah, that's a coach.
Yeah. Well, and a coach is going to tell you the right answer.
Okay, and of course an infielder is going to tell you shortstop.
Oh, stop. He knows. He knows the facts, right?
You can make a few arguments, though. You could definitely, I mean, the guy behind the plate does a lot of work for not only...
That was the second one. That was the second one, Joe. That was the second one. I said the second hardest position to play is the catching position. And this guy kept saying, center field. It's center field. No, it's not. The two hardest positions to play is shortstop and catcher. And the pitching is probably the most important position to win championships.
Yeah, but catching is the most... Catching is the most mentally important position. I'm saying athletically important position. A catcher. Again,
keep arguing your point. It's me and Joe versus you.
Yeah, you're arguing with an infielder.
I'm arguing with a pitcher too. He's a pitcher too, so he knows.
I'm only counting that as half a point, by the way.
A half a point? You're an idiot.
Okay, I gotta get some innings on the mound before I get a full point.
Yeah, really. You can't either. You have to have it half points, or they don't count for an outfielder for my end or infielder for your end. We got to pick one way to do this because there's obvious bias.
You always have an excuse.
You'd say the same thing if we were interviewing an outfielder.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
I would ask the question, and you would say the same thing.
I would ask any position. I would ask a third baseman, a first baseman, a left fielder, a center, and they will all tell you. They will all tell you the most important position and the hardest position to play, and the most athletic position to play on the field is the shortstop position. So you're wrong.
All right, first outfielder re-interview. We're doing this.
Okay,
we'll see how it is.
Okay.
All right, let's get off of this now, Joe. Joe, what is the most memorable game you've had in your career in any level of baseball, and describe it?
The most what game?
Memorable to you.
Oh. It's funny. It's a game I didn't play in, but my freshman season, I was mostly a relief pitcher on the varsity team, and winning the sectional championship that year was a memory that I'm never going to forget. Some of the guys have been my friends for a lot of years, and they'll be my friends for life. So we'll always have that memory together, which makes it more special.
Joe, before we let you go, and this is Coach Week. We've been interviewing all different coaches throughout the week, from baseball levels to basketball levels.
It's also A-10 baseball week. We've had URI, we've had Richmond. We had a guy that used to coach at Fordham too.
It's, and a lot of these baseball coaches have their own preference on what they look for. What do they look for in a player? When you as a young player, you're 19 years old, and just really talking to youngsters, kids that want to be like you, and seeing you grown as a baseball player. If a kid came up to you right now and asked you, what does it take to be a professional, a college baseball player and eventually a professional baseball player, what would you tell them?
I'd say you got to believe you're the best player on the field, just because if you don't have the mindset that you're the best player and you don't have the confidence that you're going to attack every ground ball or every fly ball and every at-bat, every time I'm facing a guy on the mound, if I don't have the same confidence that I'm going to dominate, then I got no shot. So I feel like that mentality is extremely different, and you could see that in the player pretty quickly.
Carl, who's on our feed, are actually going to take your question from on Tuesday and ask it to one of the players. Do you have any superstitions when you go into a game on game day?
I am a little bit superstitious. I don't step on the line, of course. Always strap on the left pad and go up first. But other than that, some things can change a little bit daily.